Hi, hi, good evening, all of you. Am I audible to all? Okay, okay, thank you. So, we spoke about equatorial type of climate yesterday. Okay, so one last thing in this topic. हाँ हो रहा है हाँ हो रहा है डोंट वरी in the equatorial regions there are three tribal groups which are major. Okay, now in South America, in the Amazon forest, hmm, the tribal group which is most significant in these equatorial regions is basically known by the name of Indian tribes. Okay, now these are indigenous people, Indian indigenous tribal group of Amazon forest. Basically primitive in nature, they basically are people who have been practicing very old traditions still in the Amazon forest. They are basically food gatherers and hunters. Okay, food gatherers and hunters. They feed on wild animals, they hunt wild animals, they collect fruits from the trees of the forest, even they collect nuts, like chestnut, hazelnut in the forest. They use spears, bows, and arrows to hunt down animals. Okay, and they have been in the Amazon forest for thousands of years, and till date, they have not been integrated very well with the modern technological world, okay, and still live in primitive state. Hmm? So these are Indian tribes, not the Indians from South Asia, okay, or India. They are known as Indian tribes in South America because they have been living a very, very primitive kind of life, okay. That is in Amazon forest of South America. Now, the second tribal group is found in Africa, in the equatorial forest of Congo, Gabon, Nigeria. Okay. Now, this tribal group, which basically roams around the equatorial forest of Africa, they are known by the name of pygmies. Okay, they are called pygmies of Africa. Similar to Indian tribes of South America, they are also primitive in their lifestyle. They are indigenous to Africa. यहीं के original tribes हैं, and again the same kind of lifestyle. They use spears, bows, and arrows to hunt down wild animals. Generally, they collect fruits, nuts from the forest, and still they are uh, little away from the modern technological world and uh, more or less thrive on the produce of the forest. Whatever forest produces is enough for these tribal group also, to survive in the forest, right? So Pygmies of Africa is the second indigenous tribal group which is known in the equatorial forest. Okay. Number three, so they are number two. Number three, now this tribal group basically is found in the islands of East Indies. Okay, they're found in the islands of East Indies, primarily Sumatra, Java, Borneo, and Indonesia. Indonesia, and with Indonesia, there's one more country, Malaysia. Okay. Now, the name of this tribal group is Orang Asli. Okay, they are called Orang Asli. So, three major regions of the world, three major tribal groups. Orang Asli. But Orang Asli are slightly different from Pygmies of Africa. They are slightly different from Indian tribes of Amazon forest because they are little advanced. They are advanced tribes. Now, why they are advanced? Why they are called advanced is they are basically agriculturists. Okay, they do not survive on the forest produce. They do not hunt down wild animals, but they follow a very organized type of agricultural practice. Okay, very organized type of agricultural practice, and they majorly grow two types of crops. One is rubber and other is sugarcane. Rubber and sugarcane. Now, in fact, because of the advanced agricultural practice of Orang Asli, in Malaysia, Indonesia, they have been able to grow rubber on large plantations, and it has been practiced for over 100 years now. Okay, Orang Asli have been growing rubber along with sugarcane, but in rubber they have scaled new heights. So what they have done is they have organized plantations. They even follow techniques like crop rotation. So they rotate rubber with other crops during the smaller growing seasons, so that the soil fertility remains intact. And these kind of tribes, they generally do not rely on artificial fertilizers, but they use organic manure, so like cow dung, and they collect the coverings of rice, from the fields, the waste which is produced after rice is harvested. They use that kind of stuff as organic fertilizer in the soils and keep the soils fertile. Okay, and for over 100 years they have been producing rubber, and even they have quite a lot of support from the government, especially for rubber plantations. And so much support that Malaysia and Indonesia today, both these countries specifically together, they account for, these two countries, they account for nearly two-thirds of world's rubber production. Two-thirds of world's rubber production. Almost 66.67, okay, almost 66.67 percentage of the world's rubber production is coming from Indonesia and Malaysia. And thanks to the vast tribal group, they live in huge numbers in the rural areas of Indonesia and Malaysia. And Orang Asli, they dominate most of the rubber plantations in the East Indies, primarily in Indonesia and Malaysia. So they are not primitive hunters, they are not food gatherers in the forest. They do not collect nuts, In fact, they draw their livelihood by practicing rubber and sugarcane cultivation. Okay. Just draw these three diagrams very quickly. Have you drawn this one? South America ka Indian tribes. Can draw a small diagram here. And what essentially you have to remember ultimately is this name, Indian tribes. If you are finished, just let me know. I'll move to the second one, Africa. इसको बना लो, The Pygmies of Africa. And उसके ऊपर आप प्लीज ये भी लिख लीजिए, food gatherers and hunters in the forest. And till date, they use spears, bows and arrows, to hunt down animals. Congo, Gabon, Nigeria. Let me know when you are done with this. Food gatherers and hunters in the forest. उसके आगे लिखा है spears / bows and arrows. They use spears / bows and arrows to hunt down animals. Remember this name, Pygmies of Africa. सबका? इसको लिख लो, Orang Asli of Sumatra, Java, Borneo, Indonesia, Malaysia. Advanced agriculturists, advanced agricultural tribes practicing rubber and sugarcane cultivation. Of these three, Orang Asli is the most advanced. Let me know whenever you are done. ठीक है. Now, coming to the second biome, okay. You see in this diagram, we have just completed equatorial type, which is also called the tropical rainforest. Now, let us move to the second one you see here, tropical grasslands. Put the heading as tropical grasslands. Put the heading as tropical grasslands. Now see, now as we have seen in the diagram previously also, so these are the climatic biome of the world which exists between 10° north and south of equator up to 35° north and south latitudes, okay, in both the hemispheres. And adjoining the tropical grasslands are the deserts on the west and tropical monsoon type of climate on the east. So basically, this biome lies away from the coastline at the center of the continents. Coastline at the center of the continents. In lower latitudes, right? These are lower latitudes. These are not even middle latitudes, which is around 45° north and south. So they are much below 45° north and south, right? And since they lie away from the coastline at the center of the continents, they receive lesser rainfall. Rainfall is less. But temperatures remain little high. They receive lesser rainfall, temperatures remain little high. Now, when we talk about tropical grasslands, okay, they are majorly found in, they are most developed in Africa. Now, they are spread around equatorial belt. And where are they? They are around the equatorial region. And so this green zone you see, these are essentially our tropical grasslands. Okay. Beyond the tropical grasslands, you see this yellow color. What do we have? Desert. And we also have desert in the south. So basically it is a transitional zone from equatorial forest, ये आपका हो गया equatorial forest, up to the desert. So in the middle they are found. Okay. Now deserts have less than 25 centimeters of rainfall. That's why they are deserts, because of lack of water. Equatorial forests have 150 to 250 centimeters of annual rainfall. And these equatorial forest regions, they have high rainfall, deserts have low rainfall. And the tropical grasslands, their rainfall fluctuates between 80 to 85 centimeters annually. Not enough for a lush green vegetation, and therefore there is no lush green vegetation. So what are these regions? They are scattered woodlands. Okay. And since they are called grasslands, there are grasses as well, there are scattered trees, and there's a lot of heating in this region. Okay, a lot of heating. Now, simple reason of heating is, you see, this is around 30 degree north, and somewhere here is 30 degree south, और इसके बीच में the sun fluctuates, right? So in June we know the sun is at Tropic of Cancer, around Tropic of Cancer. Then the sun recedes back to equator, sun equator पे वापस आने लगता है. In March the sun is, sorry, in September the sun is here. After September, in December, the sun is on the Tropic of Capricorn, around the Tropic of Capricorn. Comes back again in March here. So you see, in 1 year, these regions which you can see in the on your screen, in the middle of equatorial forest and deserts, these regions are also heated twice. They are heated twice, right? One by the sun, which moves from March to June, and then when the sun, the direct rays of the sun, they again fall on equator. So while the sun is, the direct rays of the sun, they fall back again on equator. On the way, they keep heating the tropical grasslands. एक बार जाते हुए, एक बार आते हुए, right? Direct rays of the sun. And similarly, the zones are heated in the southern hemisphere as well. In September, the sun is on equator. In December, the sun is on Tropic of Capricorn. In the middle, they are heated because they lie within the tropics. That's why they are called tropical grasslands. तो एक बार सितंबर से दिसंबर तक हीटिंग होगी, फिर दिसंबर से वापस आएगा सन, मार्च में फिर से हीटिंग होगी. तो हीटिंग बहुत ज्यादा है, लेकिन प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि these regions are slightly away from the oceanic influence. Equatorial forest से भी दूर है, and these regions primarily fall in the zone of, ये हमारा नॉर्थ ईस्टर्लीज है, ये हमारा साउथ ईस्टर्लीज है, राइट? सो नॉर्थ ईस्टर्लीज कम फ्रॉम 30 degree north latitude. So while they are moving towards equator, on the way they cross over tropical grasslands. Similarly, south easterlies, ये जो आप देख रहे हैं नीचे, they cross over from tropical grasslands while they converge with northeasterlies around equator. तो ये ट्रांजिशनल जोन है, रेनफॉल ज्यादा नहीं हो पाती इसलिए. एक तो ये डेजर्ट से विंड्स आ रही हैं, यू कैन सी दीज विंड्स आर कमिंग फ्रॉम द डेजर्ट. नॉर्थ ईस्टर्लीज आर कमिंग फ्रॉम द डेजर्ट, एनी हाउ दे विल नॉट बी कैरिंग मच मॉइस्चर, एंड ऑन द वे दे क्रॉस ओवर ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड्स. ज्यादा पानी होता नहीं है, मॉइस्चर कंटेंट होता नहीं है विंड्स में, दे ब्रिंग लेसर रेनफॉल. और ये विंड्स रेनफॉल कब लेके आते हैं? व्हेन दे मूव टू इक्वेटर एंड दे कन्वर्ज विद साउथ ईस्टर्लीज एट इक्वेटर. सो ट्रांजिशनल जोन, विंड्स का भी ट्रांजिशनल जोन है, ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड्स. हीटिंग भले ही हो रही है लेकिन रेनफॉल कम है, और जो हीटिंग हो रही है वो basically will make water evaporate from the local water sources, like some rivers, some lakes in the region, वहां से evaporation हो जाता है. लेकिन उसके अलावा there is no major water source. That's why these regions remain devoid of much rainfall annually. So when we talk about tropical grasslands, the summers are around 35 to 40 degree centigrade. Summers का जो average temperature है, और winters का जो एवरेज टेम्परेचर है इट इज अराउंड 20 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड. विंटर्स भी कोई खास कूल नहीं है, दे आर नॉट कोल्ड एट ऑल. विंटर्स आर जस्ट वार्म, दे आर नॉट कूल, नाइदर कोल्ड, बट समर्स आर वार्म. सो यू सी दिस इज अ वार्म बेल्ट. यहाँ पे समर्स डोमिनेट करते हैं 8 to 9 months in a year. You'll have summers, and only for 2-3 months we have mild temperatures like that of 20 degrees centigrade. तो जो annual range of temperature है, which is the difference between summer temperatures and winter temperatures, is quite less, right? It is only 15 to 20 degrees centigrade. Reason, heated twice by the sun. Northern hemisphere में tropical grasslands are heated once the sun ascends, once the direct rays of the sun descend, and similarly in the southern hemisphere. No, that's why summers are, you can say, summers are hot and winters are warm. Summers are hot and winters are warm. So basically, we can write that tropical grasslands, I'll go back to this diagram when you have to draw, okay? Don't worry. Are at the interface, are at the transitional, are at the transitional zone, not transitional, are at the transition of equatorial forest and deserts. Tropical grasslands are at the transition of equatorial forest and deserts. Shall I go back to the diagram you want to draw?
Yes, sir.
हाँ, तो आप इसमें 2-3 चीजें लिखिए, ठीक है ना. स्कैटर्ड वुडलैंड्स हो गया, heated twice. I'll dictate the stuff also, but जो यहाँ पे मैंने जितने भी फिगर्स और स्टैटिस्टिक्स लिखे हैं उसको आप नोट डाउन कर सकते हैं. समर्स का एवरेज टेम्परेचर, विंटर्स का एवरेज टेम्परेचर, and show them between equatorial forest and deserts. और नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फेयर में आप नॉर्थ ईस्टर्लीज बनाइए और सदर्न हेमिस्फेयर में आप बनाइए साउथ ईस्टर्लीज. तो ये जितनी भी winds हैं, when they pass over the middle of the continents, anyhow they are not able to bring rainfall because their nature is offshore, offshore, because they are essentially headed towards the ocean. And बीच में ये tropical grasslands पड़ जाते हैं, तो इसलिए rainfall कम होती है. जब बना लिया हो तो मुझे बता दीजिए. Done? हो गया सबका? You want to see how tropical grasslands look like?
Yes, sir.
Have you written the statement already?
Yes, sir.
You see on the screen right now? देख पा रहे?
Yes, sir.
You see these scattered trees, बीच बीच में आपको कुछ कुछ पेड़ मिल जाएंगे, but you see this one here, the fifth picture from the left, the last one on the right. Scattered woodlands, कुछ कुछ पेड़ हैं, ज्यादा लीफ नहीं है पेड़ पे. Mostly on the landscape we'll find grasses. This is a typical tropical grassland, right? Scattered trees, grasses. और अभी जो हमने पढ़ा, you see equatorial forest. The way equatorial forest looks like is very dense. You see this equatorial forest? Yes? These pictures, you can't even see the soil beneath the trees. दिखाई नहीं देता. ये देखो आप एरियल व्यू देख रहे हो? There's so many trees. एक ही कारण है. एक तो obviously the sunlight is lot, sun's insolation is very high. और दूसरा यही है कि rainfall is also quite high, right? So ये ऐसा हमको दिखता है इक्वेटोरियल फॉरेस्ट. ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड अभी अभी आपने देखा. और जब हम डेजर्ट देखते हैं, डेजर्ट ऐसा दिखता है, राइट? ये डेजर्ट हो गया. डेजर्ट बिल्कुल खत्म हो गई वेजिटेशन. दिस इज इक्वेटोरियल फॉरेस्ट. और इन दोनों के बीच में हमको क्या मिलता है? ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड. यू नो, कैन यू विजुअलाइज द ट्रांजिशन? पहले बहुत ज्यादा पेड़ थे, फिर पेड़ कम हो गए, grasses have been dominating this landscape. और इससे भी ज्यादा कम जब रेनफॉल हो जाती है तो क्या मिलता है? डेजर्ट. कैन यू विजुअलाइज नाउ? थोड़ा सा लिख लीजिए, देन विल गो अहेड. ओके. ट्रॉपिकल grasslands are found between 10° north and south to 35° north and south latitudes. 10° north and south to 35° north and south latitudes. Full stop. They are at the transition of equatorial forest and deserts. They are at the transition of equatorial forest and deserts. Equatorial forest and deserts. Full stop. The rainfall, the annual rainfall in the tropical grasslands is around 80 to 85 centimeters is around 80 to 85 centimeters, which is higher than the deserts, but which is higher than the deserts, but lesser than the equatorial forest, but lesser than the equatorial forest. Full stop. Tropical grasslands fall in the zone of northeasterlies and southeasterlies. Fall in the zone of northeasterlies and southeasterlies, which are coming from or which are blowing from the deserts, which are blowing from the deserts located at the margins of located at the margins of 25 to 30-degree north and south latitude, located at the margins of 25 to 30-degree north and south latitudes. Twenty-five to 30-degree north and south latitudes. Full stop. In the absence of a significant water source, in the absence of a significant water source, comma, these winds are not able to these winds are not able to bring about much rainfall in these regions. These winds are not able to bring about much rainfall in these regions. The winds are essentially offshore. The winds are essentially offshore and ultimately blowing from land to the ocean. The winds are essentially offshore and ultimately blowing from land to the ocean. Blowing from land to the ocean. Full stop. The tropical grasslands are heated by the direct rays of the sun, heated by the direct rays of the sun, direct rays of the sun. In the months of April and May, in the months of April and May, and again in July and August, and again in July and August in the northern hemisphere, and again in July and August in the northern hemisphere. Is this statement clear to all of you? April and May or July, August? बताइए. Is the statement clear? March के बाद April and May, the direct rays of the sun will be between 10 degree north and 30 degree north latitude, essentially, right? जून में तो वो फिर एकदम ट्रॉपिक्स पे ही पहुंच जाता है. और ये ट्रांजिशन जोन है, इसलिए मार्च और जून के बीच में द मंथ्स विच एग्जिस्ट, अप्रैल एंड मई, उस टाइम पे हीटिंग सबसे ज्यादा होगी. यस और नो? ठीक है. देन जून के बाद जुलाई एंड अगस्त, बिफोर द डायरेक्ट रेज ऑफ द सन आर बैक ऑन इक्वेटर इन सितंबर. तो जून के बाद जुलाई अगस्त, सितंबर पे द सन इज बैक एट इक्वेटर, द डायरेक्ट रेज आर बैक ऑन इक्वेटर. यस, क्लियर नाउ? Can you visualize this? क्लियर है अभी? अरे बता तो तू, आगे डिक्टेट करो फिर. नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ, इज इट क्लियर? द टू टाइम्स हीटिंग. कहां चले गए सब लोग? नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ. In the southern hemisphere, in the southern hemisphere, between 10 degrees south and 30 degrees south latitude, in the southern hemisphere, between 10 degrees south and 30 degrees south latitude, comma, the heating happens in the months of October and November, when the sun is up, when the direct rays of the sun are approaching, tropical latitude, when the direct rays of the sun are approaching tropical latitude, and again in January and February, and again in January and February, when the direct rays of the sun are receding back to equator, when the direct rays of the sun are receding back to equator, receding, मैं स्पेलिंग लिख देता हूँ, ये देखो, receding back to equator. Therefore, the average summer temperatures in these regions, are around 35 to 40 degrees centigrade, are around 35 to 40 degrees centigrade, while the average winter temperatures are around 20 degrees centigrade. Average winter temperatures are around 20 degrees centigrade. Full stop. The summers are hot while the winters are mild. The summers are hot while the winters are mild and not cold. Winters are mild and not cold. Winters are mild and not cold. ओके लिख लिया अभी. एक और आप डायग्राम बना लो, ठीक है ना, थोड़ा सा और क्लैरिटी आ जाएगा. ये 0 डिग्री इक्वेटर है. So what we are talking about, so in green I'm drawing the sun, right? So March and September the sun is here. April के बाद मई, और मई के बाद जून में सन कहाँ मिलेगा? एट द ट्रॉपिक्स, राइट? इसलिए आपने ये लिखा है ना, दीज टू. अप्रैल एंड मई में हीटिंग हो रही है. जून के बाद फिर से जब सन इज बैक तो जुलाई एंड अगस्त, राइट? फिर सितंबर में फिर से डायरेक्ट रेज ऑफ द सन अराउंड इक्वेटर. एंड आफ्टर सितंबर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट October, the sun is here, and November, the sun is here. And December, the sun is back on the tropic. Yes, 30 degrees south. और दिसंबर के बाद देखो, ये अक्टूबर एंड नवंबर लिखा है ना आपने, और दिसंबर के बाद कौन सा महीना? January 1st and then February. So basically what we are talking about is, while the direct rays of the sun shuttle between the tropics, comma, tropical grasslands are heated, while the direct rays of the sun shuttle between the tropics, the tropical grasslands are heated. Is it clear now? तो अक्टूबर, नवंबर, फरवरी एंड जनवरी फॉर सदर्न हेमिस्फेयर, मई, अप्रैल, जुलाई, अगस्त फॉर नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फेयर. इसको बना लो और लिख लो जो मैंने यहाँ पे बनाया. while the direct rays of the sun shuttle between the tropics, the tropical grasslands are heated. Okay, because यही जोन है हमारा ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड्स का, ठीक है ना? ओके, let me know when you are done with the diagram.
That's sir.
Okay. Everyone? अब देखिए, there is a local wind which blows in the region, which is important from examination perspective. You see the Sahara Desert here? Now, Sahara Desert से हमको पता है कौन सा winds blow करता है यहाँ पे? नॉर्थ ईस्टर्लीज, राइट? नॉर्थ ईस्टर्लीज. अब इन नॉर्थ ईस्टर्लीज को एक स्पेसिफिक नाम दिया गया है इस बेल्ट में, एंड दे आर नोन एज हर्मेटान. व्हाट इज द नेम? हर्मेटान. नाउ हर्मेटान basically, as you see northeasterlies, Harmattan is the name of the wind. In Africa, this word essentially means the doctor. वो कैसे मैं भी आपको बताऊंगा. The meaning of the word is the doctor. देखिए, Harmattan is basically blowing from the desert and headed towards 0° equator. It's a dry wind, of course, when it originates. लेकिन जब ये विंड इक्वेटोरियल बेल्ट में पहुंचती है, when this wind reaches the equatorial belt, what it does is Harmattan lowers the relative humidity. Harmattan lowers the relative humidity. Or alternatively, what we can say that Harmattan absorbs high moisture content from the equatorial region. इसको ऐसे समझो कि ड्राई विंड्स को हमने ब्लो कराया, एंड दीज ड्राई विंड्स आर अल्टीमेटली headed towards a region which has high relative humidity. High relative humidity का क्या मतलब है कि in the air the moisture content is higher, right? In the air moisture content is higher. And what is relative humidity? The amount of water vapor or moisture the air is holding at a particular temperature divided by the amount of water vapor it can hold maximum at that temperature. तो जब भी हम बोलते हैं कि relative humidity is 80%, what we mean is कि जो air है that is 80% saturated with moisture at that particular temperature, right? अब आप देखिए, Harmattan is basically blowing from a region which has less than 20% relative humidity. जो desert में air है उसमें hardly कुछ moisture है, but this wind is ultimately headed towards a region जहां पे every time the relative humidity remains more than 80%. एक dry region से wind blow कर रहा है कहां पे? ह्यूमिड रीजन में। तो जैसे ही ये विंड इक्वेटोरियल फॉरेस्ट में या इक्वेटोरियल रीजन में पहुंचेगी, so it is hungry for moisture. So what it will do is it will start absorbing the moisture from the air in equatorial region. Are you getting this point? ये समझ में आया मैंने क्या बोला अभी? The wind which is essentially blowing from the desert is ultimately headed towards a region जहां पे relative humidity is already higher. तो जहां पे relative humidity is already higher, वहां पे जब आप एक ड्राई विंड को ब्लो कराते हैं विच इज हॉट एज वेल एज ड्राई, बिकॉज इट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम द डेजर्ट एंड इट इज पासिंग ओवर द ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड, वहां भी ये ज्यादा रेनफॉल नहीं ला पाती, खुद भी ड्राई है, और जैसे ही ये इक्वेटोरियल रीजन में पहुंचती है इट बिगिंस टू एब्जॉर्ब मॉइस्चर। मतलब इक्वेटोरियल रीजन की एयर को दिस विंड इज अल्टीमेटली मेकिंग इट लो ऑन रिलेटिव ह्यूमिडिटी। तो जब रिलेटिव ह्यूमिडिटी कम होती है किसी जगह की, क्या होता है? देर इज अ सडन कूलिंग इफेक्ट, देर इज अ सडन कूलिंग इफेक्ट। डिड यू गेट दिस पॉइंट? समझ में आया ये? और ये सडन कूलिंग इफेक्ट की वजह से हर्मटान को बोला जाता है द डॉक्टर। अच्छा, सपोज आपको इक्वेटोरियल फॉरेस्ट में हम भेजते हैं और ह्यूमिडिटी बहुत ज्यादा है, हाउ विल यू फील? कैसा लगेगा आपको? 80 to 90% ह्यूमिडिटी में आपका जो पसीना है, जो स्वेट है, द स्वेट विल नॉट ड्राई। हाउ विल यू फील? फिजिकली एंड मेंटली टायर्ड, राइट? है कि नहीं? करेंगे ना?
Yes, sir.
लेकिन अचानक से द विंड ब्लोज देयर एंड इट ब्रिंग्स अबाउट सम कूलिंग इफेक्ट। मतलब कैसे? द विंड हैज एब्सॉर्ब्ड द एक्सेस मॉइस्चर विच इज प्रेजेंट इन द एयर। तो एक्सेस मॉइस्चर को जब ये विंड एब्सॉर्ब कर लेगी तो कैसा लगेगा? योर स्वेट विल स्टार्ट टू ड्राई, यू विल फील मोर रिलैक्स्ड, है कि नहीं? और इसी वजह से हम इसको बोलते हैं हर्मिटान ब्रिंग्स अबाउट सडन कूलिंग इफेक्ट एंड दैट इज द रीजन इट इज कॉल्ड द डॉक्टर। डिड यू गेट दिस पॉइंट?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, प्लीज राइट डाउन। Harmattan is a local wind. Harmattan is a local wind blowing over the tropical grasslands, blowing over the tropical grasslands in the northern hemisphere, the tropical grasslands in the northern hemisphere. It is a hot and dry wind originating from the Sahara Desert. It is a hot and dry wind originating from the Sahara Desert. Originating from the Sahara Desert. And when it blows towards equatorial region, and when it blows towards the equatorial region, comma, because of its low moisture content, because of its low moisture content, because of its low moisture content, comma, it brings about sudden cooling effect. It brings about sudden cooling effect. It brings about sudden cooling effect. Full stop. It absorbs it absorbs excess moisture in the it absorbs excess moisture from the equatorial air. It absorbs excess moisture from the equatorial air and reduces the overall relative humidity and reduces overall relative humidity in the region. Therefore, therefore, Harmattan is also famously known as therefore Harmattan is also famously known as डबल कोट्स में लिखेगा जैसे मैंने बोर्ड पे लिखा है ना Harmattan is also famously known as the doctor. Harmattan is also famously known as the doctor. ठीक है डन रिटन
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
अब coming to natural vegetation of tropical grasslands. ठीक है देखिए अभी आपने देखा scattered trees और बीच बीच में क्या है बीच बीच में क्या है grasses right grasses आते हैं मैं आपसे पूछता हूं there's one question I have कि ऐसा क्यों होता है देखिए trees require more water and nutrients from the soil compared to grasses yes or no hmm? एक पेड़ को ग्रो करने के लिए ज्यादा पानी की जरूरत पड़ेगी ऑफ कोर्स इट विल पुल मोर वाटर फ्रॉम द सॉइल प्लस इट विल रिक्वायर मोर न्यूट्रिएंट्स मतलब बेसिस जो हम कल देख रहे थे ना इक्वेटोरियल सॉइल में जब हम लैटोसोल्स में देख रहे थे वहां पे बेसिस खत्म हो जाते हैं सॉइल में लीचिंग की वजह से कौन से बेसिस सोडियम कैल्शियम मैग्नीशियम फास्फोरस पोटैश इन सब की जरूरत पड़ती है राइट लेकिन ग्रासेस को ग्रो करने के लिए इतना न्यूट्रिएंट और इतना वाटर नहीं चाहिए तो जब भी एक पेड़ ग्रो करता है एक ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड में तो ये वो रीजन्स हैं जहां पे एनुअल रेनफॉल इज ओनली 80 to 85 सेंटीमीटर्स हीटिंग ज्यादा है मतलब इवेपोरेशन जितना भी मॉइस्चर सॉइल में है वो इवेपोरेट हो जाता है राइट और 80 to 85 सेंटीमीटर्स की रेनफॉल वहां पे मैनेज हो पाती है करेक्ट नाउ this forest cover which has scattered trees and grasses they have one important characteristic कि जो trees हैं इन सब का जो roots है the roots of the trees वो लंबी होती हैं. The roots are long. Roots of the trees, roots are wiry and long. क्यों ऐसा होता है? Simple reason is to fetch water from wherever possible. To fetch water from wherever possible. कैसे? These roots go deep and wide into the soil. These roots, they go deep and wide, right? Roots go deep and wide into the soil. तो जहां से पानी मिलेगा वो खींच लेगा, क्योंकि there is scarcity of water in the tropical grasslands. तो अगर रूट्स डीप भी जा रहे हैं, वाइड भी जा रहे हैं, तो जो सेकेंड ट्री है, फॉर द सेकेंड ट्री टू ग्रो, इज देयर अ स्पेस अराउंड द फर्स्ट ट्री? स्पेस है क्या वहां पे? क्योंकि एक ही ट्री का रूट्स इतना डीप चला गया, वाइड चला गया, तो सेकेंड ट्री कैन सर्वाइव ओनली इफ इट ग्रोज अवे फ्रॉम द फर्स्ट ट्री. डिड यू गेट दिस कॉन्सेप्ट? समझ में आया आपको? रूट्स एक्सटेंड हो जाती हैं सॉइल में, दे गो डीपर, दे गो वाइडर, और दूसरा पेड़ जब ग्रो करेगा, फॉर द ग्रोथ ऑफ द सेकेंड ट्री इट विल रिक्वायर सम स्पेस. इसलिए जो भी रीजन्स हैं वर्ल्ड के जहां पे रेनफॉल कम है, वहां पे क्या होता है, आप देखेंगे स्कैटर्ड ट्रीज आर फाउंड. और इन्हीं ट्रीज का, इन द सर्च फॉर वाटर, इन डेस्परेशन टू सर्वाइव, they have adapted to such conditions, and because of that the roots are wiry and long to fetch water from wherever possible. Is this clear? और बीच बीच में क्या आपको मिलता है? grasses. ये समझ में आया? बताइए.
Yes, sir.
Everyone? Simple concept.
Yes, sir.
So why it is happening? Because there is scarcity of water. So this is number one. Roots are wiry and long to fetch water from wherever possible. अब देखिए, जब भी हम इक्वेटोरियल फॉरेस्ट का ट्री बनाते हैं, हम ऐसा बनाते हैं ना, लेकिन जब हम ट्री बनाते हैं ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड का, तो कुछ कुछ ऐसा दिखाते हैं. छोटी छोटी लीव्स कहीं कहीं पे हैं, कहीं कहीं पे लीव्स नहीं भी हैं. सो दिस इज आवर इक्वेटोरियल फॉरेस्ट, right? And this is our tropical grassland. These trees in equatorial forest, they have rounded appearance, क्योंकि यहाँ पे leaves do not fall for at least 5 years. For at least 5 years. लेकिन ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड में क्या है? ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड में क्या है? देयर आर हार्डली एनी लीव्स ऑन द ट्री. Okay, this is one. Number two, the barks, sorry, the trees are short and stunted. Tropical grassland में the trees are short and stunted. What is the meaning of stunted? Short हमें पता है हाइट कम है ट्रीज का. स्टंटेड का मतलब? स्टंटेड का मतलब the trees are low on nutrients. अब सॉइल में ना पानी है ना न्यूट्रिएंट ज्यादा है, तो ट्रीज भी, जैसे मैल न्यूट्रिशन बोलते हैं ना ह्यूमंस के केस में, जो बच्चे अच्छे से बचपन में मिल्क नहीं पी पाते, उनको ऑप्टिमम अमाउंट में न्यूट्रिएंट्स नहीं मिलते तो ऑब्वियसली दे ग्रो स्टंटेड, उनका ग्रोथ कम होता है, राइट? ऐसे ही ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड के ट्रीज हैं, क्योंकि यहाँ पे न्यूट्रिएंट्स और वाटर दोनों की अवेलेबिलिटी कम है, तो एक तो ट्रीज का हाइट कम होता है, दूसरा दे आर स्टंटेड, दे आर लो ऑन न्यूट्रिशन, बट हीटिंग बहुत ज्यादा है। और हमने देखा 4-5 महीने तो बहुत गर्मी पड़ती है यहाँ पे इन ईच ऑफ द हेमिस्फेयर्स। तो ट्रीज को सरवाइव करना है, ट्रीज को वाटर भी सेव करना है, सो दैट जब गर्मी का सीजन है, बारिश भी ज्यादा नहीं है, तो दे हैव टू सरवाइव एंड नॉट डाई। तो उसके लिए ट्रीज को क्या करना पड़ता है? द ट्रीज हैव अडेप्टेड हाउ? नंबर 3, द barks are broad are thick. The barks are thick and the trunks are broad. Getting this point? bark क्या होता है? ये देखो, ट्री है, ये जो bark है ये थिक है, और इसका जो सर्कमफेरेंस है दैट इज कॉल्ड द ट्रंक। तो अगर बार्क थिक होगा तो ट्रंक की सर्कमफेरेंस ऑटोमेटिकली ब्रॉड होगी। क्यों ऐसा होता है? द barks are thick and the trunks are broad to conserve water, to conserve water, to survive, to conserve water, to survive in the dry periods. ये पॉइंट समझ में आया? The barks are thick and the trunks are broad to conserve water. बार्क के अंदर पानी स्टोर्ड रहता है, और क्योंकि लीफ नहीं है, लीफ कम है या फिर नहीं है, तो दिस इज अनदर मैकेनिज्म टू प्रिवेंट लॉस ऑफ वाटर, राइट? वरना लीफ के सॉफ्ट सरफेस के थ्रू जब एक्सेस हीटिंग होती है समर्स में तो पानी लॉस हो जाता है। जब वाटर लॉस को अवॉइड करने के लिए लीफ को भी शेड करके रखता है। सो अनदर मैकेनिज्म टू prevent loss of water. Loss of water in times of harsh summers, जब बहुत ज्यादा गर्मी होती है। Did you get this point? Another mechanism to prevent loss of water, leaf shedding, right? So leaf shedding is another mechanism to save water. Written? लिख लिया?
Yes, sir.
All 3 points? So इसके नीचे लिख लो, please write down. A general landscape of a tropical grassland. A general landscape of a tropical grassland. The general landscape of a tropical grassland consists of scattered trees, scattered trees, surrounded by grasses, surrounded by grasses. Full stop. The roots of the trees are wiry and long. The roots of the trees are wiry and long, which go deep and wide into the soil, deep and wide into the soil, to fetch water from wherever possible, which go deep and wide into the soil, to fetch water from wherever possible. Full stop. This is an adaptation to survive. This is an adaptation to survive in the hot, long summers. In the hot, long summers. In the hot, long summers. When water scarcity, when water scarcity occurs, full stop. When water scarcity occurs, full stop. Also, 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 the trees are generally leafless except during brief periods of rainfall. Trees are generally leafless except during brief periods of rainfall, except during brief periods of rainfall. To avoid further loss of water from the surface of the leaves, to avoid further loss of water from the soft surface करके लिख देना, to avoid further loss of water from the soft surface of the leaves. Full stop. Also, the trees are short and stunted with thick barks. Also, the trees are short and stunted with thick barks and broad trunks. With thick barks and broad trunks. Thick barks and broad trunks. Full stop. Such adaptation is again to conserve water. Again to conserve water in the long dry periods during summers. Conserve water in the long, dry periods during summers. in the long dry periods during summers. लिख लिया? Done? In the long dry periods during summers. Written?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Number 4 and last for natural vegetation. Tropical grasslands are characterized by thick and tall elephant grass. आप काजीरंगा नेशनल पार्क गए? कितने लोग गए काजीरंगा नेशनल पार्क? हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू बीन हैव टू काजीरंगा नेशनल पार्क? आपने देखा है वहां पे, इफ यू हैव बीन देयर, लंबी लंबी ग्रासेस होती हैं. हैव यू बीन टू द नेशनल पार्क? These grasses are almost 15 feet. They grow up to 15 feet in height. और generally आपने देखा होगा, the grasses are yellowish brown in color. Have you seen such grasses in Kaziranga?
Yes, sir.
इन्हीं grasses को बोलते हैं elephant grass. And यहाँ पे छोटी छोटी ग्रासेस भी मिलती हैं ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड में, लेकिन यहाँ पे एलिफेंट ग्रास भी है. और ये जो येलोइश ब्राउन इन कलर, ये इसलिए होता है क्योंकि फॉर मोस्ट पार्ट्स ऑफ द ईयर, फॉर मोस्ट मंथ्स इन अ ईयर, द रेनफॉल इज नॉट देयर. तो घास सूखी रहती है, द ग्रास इज ड्रायर. फॉर एटलीस्ट 8 to 9 months there is no rainfall in the region, right? Or 2 to 3 months, when there is brief period of rainfall, the grass will become greener. लेकिन ये जो ग्रास है, दिस इज इनएडिबल. ये एनिमल्स खाने के लिए यूज नहीं करते. एनिमल्स कैन नॉट ईट दिस ग्रास बिकॉज इट इज थिक, इट इज टॉल, इट इज इनएडिबल. बट what animals use it for is to camouflage. What is camouflage? What is camouflage? Camouflage means hiding. किससे? The herbivores hide from hunting होती है ना जंगल में. Herbivores hide from whom? Carnivores and omnivores? Yes or no? आपने डियर को देखा है? डियर कैसे छुप जाता है जब भी लायन उसके पीछे जाता है, टाइगर उसके पीछे जाता है, लेकिन फिर भी लायन और टाइगर कहीं ना कहीं कैच कर लेते हैं, राइट? सो ये ग्रासेस बेचारे जो वीक हर्बीवोर्स हैं उनको हेल्प करती है टू हाइड फ्रॉम द पावरफुल carnivores and omnivores, which have powerful jaws, and these lions, tigers, leopards. ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड में आपको हर टाइप का कार्निवोर मिल जाएगा, यहाँ पे हर टाइप का ओमनिवोर मिल जाएगा, हर टाइप का हर्बीवोर मिल जाएगा. तो जो फूड चेन है एनिमल्स की, वो बहुत अच्छे से डेवलप्ड है. एलिफेंट ग्रास यहाँ पे मिलती है, grows up to 15 feet in height. It is largely inedible, but definitely it is used by herbivores as a camouflage from carnivores and omnivores. Okay? लिख लिया ये? Done?
Yes, sir.
नीचे लिख लीजिए 2 लाइन. The elephant grass in a tropical grassland. The elephant grass in a tropical grassland is a camouflage medium for herbivores. Is a camouflage medium for herbivores to hide from powerful omnivores and carnivores. To hide from powerful omnivores and carnivores. Full stop. The grass has long roots, long and wiry roots like the trees. The grass has long and wiry roots like the trees. To survive in long and dry periods. To survive in long dry periods, comma, it grows up to 15 feet in height. It grows up to 15 feet in height and is inedible and is inedible. Full stop. Next paragraph. Due to the dominance of the grasses in a tropical grassland, due to the dominance of the grasses in a tropical grassland, due to the dominance of the grasses in a tropical grassland, comma, the topography is generally referred to as the topography is generally referred to as park landscape. The topography is generally referred as, double quotes में लिखेगा, please write in double quotes, park landscape. The topography is generally referred to as park landscape. Written? तो ग्रासेस का डोमिनेंस है तो एक पार्क जैसा दिखता है, राइट? एंड फेमसली ट्रॉपिकल ग्रासलैंड्स आर कॉल्ड एज पार्क लैंडस्केप. ओके, क्लियर अप टू नाउ?
Yes, sir.
सबको?
Yes, sir.
Very good. We'll continue tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow.